Welcome to my American History Notes, where I discuss things that I've learned about American history and conclusions I've drawn. Now, I'm a Bible believing Christian, so obviously my conclusions are going to disagree with your conclusions. And even if you're offended, I hope that what I say will at least spur you on to study on your own and look into these things. And that's my goal, is I hope that will spark an interest in American history. So we're talking about social movements, particularly of the 19th and 20th centuries. And particularly now, we're still in the last half of my discussion about abortion. And I'm not going to get real deep into it, a real ideological, but I just want to talk about some of the history a little bit. So, from picking up from what I talked about last time, um, abortion laws were absent for the most part in colonial America, and abortions were considered both legal and moral if performed before the quickening or the first movements were felt by the mother. Now, that information was from Brown University's website, referencing a 1991 book on the subject. Toward the middle of the 19th century, the states began to outlaw abortion, and by 1880, 40 states had created laws outlawing abortion except in therapeutic cases or in cases of rape or incest. On the other hand, Cornell University had a website which referenced a work by Janet Brodie, which said that abortion was a serious offense in both the eyes of the law and the state in colonial America. Now, it can't be both ways. So, for the serious researcher, the only remedy is to obtain access to the laws of the period in the various colonies to see if abortion was actually mentioned. Another source on the net stated that laws against abortion didn't appear until the 1820s. Obviously, this issue is so divisive, you'll need to do a lot of investigative work to discover the truth. Now, although there have been, as it is reported, well over 50 million abortions performed since Roe v. Wade, and nearly half of them have been minority abortions, in keeping with Margaret Sanger's racist views. She was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she really looked down on what she considered lesser races, anybody who wasn't white. So abortion really is a function of white supremacy in one way. There's also been acts of violence performed by, quote, pro-life side. Between 1977 and 94, it was estimated that there were 1,700 acts of violence against clinics, according to NBC News. Notorious bombers like terrorist Eric Rudolph and executed murderer Paul Hill have given the pro choice side plenty of ammunition to cloud the fact that 4,000 murders were being committed each day in abortion clinics. One of the more interesting websites against abortion was the website called blackgenocide.org. And of course, you can go to plannedparenthood.org for the other viewpoint. The CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control, have been examining the statistics of abortion for a long time. The conclusion for the year 2000 was misleading, and here's why I say that. The quote was, from this is a website from some several years ago, was 1990 through 1997, the number of legally induced abortions gradually declined. In 1998 1999, the number of abortions continued to decrease when comparing the same 48 reporting areas. In 2000, even with one additional reporting state, the number of abortions declined slightly in 1998 and 1999. As in previous year, deaths related to legal induced abortions occurred rarely, less than one death per 100,000 abortions, unquote. Now, once you realize that deaths related to legal induced abortions are, in fact, close to 100%, as for an abortion to occur, a baby must die. That is the important thing that people have to understand. For abortion to occur, a baby must die. So if you consider what you have in you, a baby, that's an important point. In addition, while Black people represented 20% of the population of the U.S., they consistently represented well over 35% of all abortions. 1990 represented the highest raw number of abortions at nearly 1.5 million, and 2000 the lowest at 850,000. It's a pretty high death toll. Now, in addition, the highest number of abortions in the year 2000 occurred in New York and Texas, with California not reporting. North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming had the fewest reported outside of Florida, whose number of 391 is not believable. Women aged 20 to 24 represented the largest percentage of women having abortions. So basically, I've been focusing on the 20th century, the late 20th century, and not moving into this century. Wanted to go over this historically. I'm going to start talking about the gay rights movement, homosexual movement, and coming up, and I hope you'll listen to me, and that way you'll dig yourself to learn and understand more about these social movements of the 1900s and 18 and 2000 excuse me, of the 19th century and the 20th century. So thank you for listening. These are very contentious issues, but want to look at them historically and philosophically, see where they're based in. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.